Okay, I can read the statement now. My goals would be to ensure that we remain good stewards of the monies that we are in charge of and that we work with the entities involved in making sure that our downtown flourishes. A strong downtown is critical for a successful city and region, and our city leaders and community members have shown their commitment to those of us who work and own buildings down here. I started my own business in 1995 in the Centrum building and became a chamber ambassador for the city. I volunteered as a member of the board for the Downtown Association and filled all the positions from board members to treasurer to secretary to vice president to president and served for 20 years. I was the president when the bid funds were removed from the Downtown Association and moved to the city, and a more formal bid board was formed. I asked former mayor to become a member of the board to ensure that these funds were used in a proper way. I know the history of this board and how it worked before it was even formed, so I'm confident that my history of being in the downtown for just shy of 30 years will help me to lead this board forward. Together, we can continue to promote the success and growth of our beautiful downtown. We can collectively make sure that the bid funds are used towards projects that benefit the bid members. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other nominations?
I nominate Tracy Surratt.
Okay. I guess we need a second, or?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. Well, I've had the pleasure of serving on the bid board for 2 years and would be honored to continue to contribute to the community. During my time, the previous leadership did a great job budgeting and executing against a strategic plan. If elected by this group, I would bring forward a refreshed plan to drive growth, development, and visitors to our downtown. Some areas of consideration are strategic marketing to drive foot traffic and create a return on investment for building owners and tenants. Expand benefit beyond the main street for bid members. Connect with city officials to bring transparency and alignment on key issues. And in closing, I'm proud to be part of West Bend and believe we are just getting started. Thank you for your continued support and consideration.
Move to close. I move to close nominations for president.
Perfect.
That also needs a second. Otherwise,
I'll second that.
And then do we go one by one?
I believe we need to do a ballot.
We weren't ready for that, huh? Thank you.
Thank you.
As Carissa passes out the ballots, please know that you'll need to write your own name down as your ballot, and then who you are voting for, so making that clear on the ballot. And then Carissa, if you could select 2 clerks or 2 individuals up there to count the ballots with you so that you can read them off, that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Please. No? I didn't find out till this morning. Oh, okay. Yep. 5 to 3. Okay, so it is 5 to 3. So Peggy had 5 votes and Tracy had 3 votes. So we then make a motion to nominate Peggy Fisher as the bid board president.
Now the motion.
She is.
She is elected
Oh.
as president.
Perfect. What? Okay, so then we can open it for vice president. Perfect. Okay.
Motion to nominate Tracy Surwatt as vice president.
Second.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We can then move on to secretary. Any nominations for secretary?
Thought that was you.
Was that an official ballpark?
Oh,
Close enough for government work. We don't have, if there's no opposition, we're close enough for government work. And this is government work.
Tracy, you can actually take over the meeting now.
Oh, I can. Oh, yeah, because Peggy's not here.
Yep.
So what do we do for the secretary?
Open for nominations.
Okay, so we're going to open up for nominations for secretary.
You want to get Wes? Just nominate.
Yeah, I would nominate Wesley.
Second. I will accept that honor.
Okay, voice,
Hearing no further
what's that?
nominations,
Oh,
I move to close nominations.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, Wes is secretary.
Yay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the financial report. Is that what-
No, next is the approval of minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, the approval of minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next agenda is the financial report.
Okay, so if you scroll down, oops, in your packet, you'll see the updated financial report. Nothing really out of the ordinary here. You do have the 2023 carry forward for the bid facade grants, and then the 2024 investment interest is collected to date. And then anything that's really changed is the electricity costs and the lights and decorations that you had for cleanup.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Or is there discussion?
Yeah, I just
General.
have a question about, with that $25,000 that was carried forward from last year, has that already been awarded
I think, Mark, you're talking on that?
as far as the facade grant committee?
No, it has not been awarded.
So this year there's,
We actually have an item coming up to
yeah, that's
address
what I
that.
wanted to clarify that in the
That
financial
money
report.
remains in the facade grant.
Actually, sorry,
It's
the 25,
27,000, I believe.
the 25,000 that was carried over from last year was awarded to Gooley, the owner
Oh.
of Sal's Pizza, for his facade. So that is spoken for, which is why it's in the encumbered line. We haven't paid it out yet because he has not yet finished his project. The remaining money that's in there for 2024 is still yet to be determined.
Right. That's the 27,000.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Kevin Steiner, I believe, would like to speak on regards to the Scott's Landscaping proposal.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Kevin Steiner, I'm a recently retired CEO at West Bend Mutual Insurance Company, enjoying retirement, now spending my time on things like this. I'm here representing a small private group, and that group is Jim Schlamer, Peter Ziegler, Prudy Pickway, Claire Rolfs, James Danaher representing the West Bend Community Foundation, and then Tim Schmidt from Delta Defense. This group loves our city, and many have contributed, to money in the past for various efforts. How this all got started was that the city requested money from several of us for the Facade grant program, and we had some questions. And one of the questions was, what is the city's long-term strategic plan, and how do we look at all of these assets that we have in the downtown, which is many, and how do we tie those together to make West Bend a destination, truly a great place to live, work, visit, shop, eat, etc. So the city did not have a long-term plan, and so our group agreed to fund a long-term master plan. For the city, we hired Grafe. They created a 20-year master plan for the downtown. And it's just not the downtown. It's the boundaries would be the Eisenbahn up to the 6th Street. That includes the Heritage Tower in that area. It goes to Regner, and so that's what we're the boundaries of this downtown master plan. That cost approximately $120,000, and that was all funded by this private group. There's nothing secretive about that plan. There's nothing secretive about our group. And hopefully you attended one of the sessions that we had at the Bend where Grafe presented, a summary of that master plan. And when I met with Tracy and Wes and Peggy a couple weeks ago, I made the comment that I'm happy to come and share that plan. You can see that plan. You can use that plan as you think about what you want to accomplish. So there's nothing secretive about that plan at all. So in that plan was some short-term activation and then some longer-term activation, projects and ideas. And so our group decided that, and the number one short-term activation was we have this beautiful downtown that was done, but it really would be nice if we could green up the downtown. And so that was the first project, was the greening up of the downtown. But in doing so, we said as a private group that this really needs to be a public-private partnership if we're going to go forward. And so the city has agreed and has voted on and has committed $100,000 towards this project, and the private group has committed $275,000. So that makes our contribution, the private group, now about $400,000 with the master plan and this greening up of downtown. It was our hope that, let me just stop there. That's where, to me, a big mistake was made. And the big mistake is that we needed to engage you actively in this project, the bid in this project. And, certainly to me, have we done that from the start? Perhaps some of this misunderstanding, some questions, obviously, you would have been involved in that project. And so, while we did get feedback, as when we talked about placement of planters and pots, obviously we went downtown and we did talk to many of you about that, but that was a huge mistake, is that we didn't get you involved from the start. So it's really our hope that many would step up and help with the planting, maintenance, and watering of all of the plants. And so the city's agreed to plant and fertilize, trim and replace needed, including all the plants, replace them on an annual basis as necessary. And so that was agreed upon. Roots and Branches has agreed to plant, and I think they've been doing some of that already, plant many of the annuals and plants in downtown and maintain those forests. And so the Downtown Business Association agreed to donate $10,000 towards the purchase actually of the hanging baskets. And so it was our hope that the bid would consider taking care of the watering, and it's actually, I think, a watering and weeding contract for the plants and trees, and that actually is the Scott's landscape professional services contract that's on the agenda. So, and that I understand, I actually haven't seen that, but I understand that's, and it's hard, we don't know exactly what that number is based on when the plants all arrive, what the summer looks like in terms of, the heat, but somewhere between maybe $40,000 and $50,000. We do have a memorandum of understanding that the mayor, the city administrator, that our private group has agreed upon, and that says that the city has accepted responsibility for the planting, maintenance, and watering of these plants and trees. The council will vote on that on May 20th, so that will come before the council on May 20th. I realize that this was dropped on you at your last meeting. There was a lot of unanswered questions, maybe some confusion, and so I certainly understand why more than not voted no on this project. I appreciate that you've put this back on the agenda. I appreciate that you've allowed me to come. When I met with Tracy and Peggy and Wes, they said, hey, can you come to the next bid meeting? Can you explain what I just shared with you? And so that's what I'm doing. Just on a personal note, I've been in this community for 30 years, worked at West Bend Mutual for 30 years, was CEO for 15 years, and during my time, we've donated millions of dollars to this downtown. And we're proud to do that, and we're proud of this downtown. But every time I did that, we did that, the expectation was that there would be good collaboration between the city and us, and then between the city and us and the nonprofits, whether that's the Bend, whether that's MOA, and then good collaboration between us and the businesses in the downtown. And I'm remaining on the board and will remain on the board for a while at West Bend Mutual, and it's certainly my expectation and my plan to continue to contribute to this downtown in a meaningful way. But my expectation, again, is that we'll have good collaboration between all the parties involved. And oftentimes good collaboration takes good communication. And I apologize for the lack of communication that's occurred on this project, and that I'm here today to ask you that hopefully you're willing to participate in this project. Obviously, what we're asking to participate is in the watering of these plants and these trees, and asking you to do that for this year. Obviously, going forward, you're going to set a budget, I'm sure, later this year when you'll talk about 25. But obviously, the city's responsible. The trees, the plants have all been ordered. We have a plan that obviously. To obviously put those all in place. And so really, hoping for your consideration. I'll make two final notes. One is the master plan is just a plan. Just because it says there's a plan in there, there's a project in there for 6th Avenue, doesn't mean that's going to happen. This plan will become the responsibility of the city. The execution will become the responsibility of the city. The city's going to need to figure out, okay, if that's going to happen, where does that money come from? And what I can tell you is I'm not a fan of that coming from the backs of the businesses. And so I know there's concern about maybe what may happen in the future is that these projects to me are not to be funded by the businesses. I expect the bid will participate in an appropriate way, but this is not to be done on the backs of the businesses at all. It's our intent as a private sector, and we have interest in continuing to help fund these projects as long as we see there's a good collaboration. Last point is there's a plan right now to place the planters and the trees, and that's we did when we did that day. We did that to the best of our ability. When now these get placed, and if you find that there's a planter or a tree that's in the way of you conducting your business, obviously, this needs to be flexible. And so, don't view it as that plan is ironclad. That that everything's going to be where it is today is exactly where it's going to be. Obviously, we appreciate the support of this gentleman in the back here who will help us figure out where they all they belong. So, I'll stop there. Any questions I can answer?
I'll make a motion to accept the Scott's professional services contract on a not-to-exceed basis at $50,000.
Before we proceed on that, first, Kevin, thank you so much for everything your group does for the city of West Bend. I think as a board, we truly appreciate it. But also, too, I know that there are quite a few people in the audience today that do want to speak about this topic, some of the stakeholders. So I would like to invite them up to the podium to give their opinion as well on this before we vote on this.
We don't have a second, and we need to have a second and then open for discussion.
We have a second on discussion, or public discussion.
I second it.
So if anybody would like to come up and discuss this matter at the podium, please do so at this time.
Motion
Anyone?
to close public discussion.
Okay. All right, I guess we'll second that then.
We'll second that.
All right, we have motion for,
To close public discussion.
Discussion.
Then we can proceed to the motion.
okay. So do we don't have to vote on that? Oh,
Actually, we
we
do.
do? Okay. we opened this for discussion among the board.
I would just like a little clarification on our financial statement as to where those monies are gonna come from in this budget that we have right now.
They are listed on,
We have $35,000 or $30,000 set aside for landscaping, and
So at the last meeting, we did propose a different budget, so it came out of marketing and the fund for future projects.
okay, so that's where it's coming from. That's the clarification that I'd like.
That's up to you. Yep. But that was the recommendation last time, is that you could still work it within your existing budget and the items that you didn't necessarily have a plan for at that time. So marketing and, yep, fund for future projects. Yep. And not fund balance. Yep. You didn't need to pull anything from your fund balance.
This wasn't the one I got in the mail. I must have gotten the old financial report.
Oh, sure. I'm pulling it up here as well. And then landscaping, of course. You had 30,000 planned already, so those, between those three lines, marketing, fund for future projects, and landscaping, it would cover the full cost, not to exceed the $50,000.
Question for marketing. I see the next item on the agenda is from the Downtown Association and the Bend. Is there any marketing requests to consider there? I don't want to like take something from the budget and then all of a sudden they come up like, oh, I spent it. So let's make sure we're cognizant of that.
I believe that it's simply a presentation of
Yeah, it's just a
activities
presentation.
and events that they've done. And typically, they get their funding through the Tourism Commission.
All right, thank you.
Any other discussion on this?
Yes, I'm new to this, and I did review the minutes from last time, and I did review and watch your meeting from last time. So I do have concerns as to where, first of all, where we came from, where this all was. Thank you, Kevin, for explaining a lot of that. But my concern is, you guys are talking about changing this from 30,000 to 50,000 for this year, but what's happening next year? I mean, we don't really know. Listening to the meeting last time, Scott said that he was not sure that this was going to be the final. I mean, I water plants all the time, and if it's a hot summer, this is going to far exceed 50,000. So the big concern is, if we're going to take this money to do this, we're going to stop all future projects we're going to have, because we only have such a small budget. I mean, how are we going to be able to do that? Because this is not a one-time deal. You can say that all you want. I know about taxes, all that stuff. They tell you it's, just this year. No, it's not going to be just this year. It's going to be an ongoing thing. And in the event this whole thing on 6th Avenue ends up going, that affects all of us on 6th Avenue as well. So what's that going to come out to be? So I think we really need to really focus on this and really understand what it is we're really doing before we go ahead and agree to this. I understand, thank you for supporting and putting that down, but the downtown is not just for those of you that own buildings or people that are doing business down there. There's for those of us who come. You want to attract businesses down there. You want people to come down there. So we shouldn't be spending the money doing that. I think that's a city function that really should be the ones paying for the maintaining of those plants that they agreed to purchase. So that's my opinion. I just think we really need to focus on this first before we make a big decision about taking away budgets that we might be using. Maybe not this year for downtown, but maybe there are future budget things that are going to come up. We don't know. So by putting pretty much half our budget that we know of right now into watering plants, I just think we need to make more of a consideration on that.
Is there any concession from the city as a backstop for excess costs on this project, or are we going to hold Scott's feet to the fire and say 50 grand is it?
So you asked two questions. As far as concessions from the city, the conversations that Kevin and I have had, that if the bid board chooses to use their funds, this annual operating fund, to water the plants up to 50,000 as the motion is, anything over and above that, the city would figure out. So yes, there is a backstop. We don't know. Scott's been very honest with us. He's worked with us for years and years. He's done a lot of work for many businesses in our great city, and not just for the city of West Bend. Treats people fairly, and we expect that to be the case in this instance as well. So if it's a drought summer and the plants are in need of watering, we're not going to stop him from doing that. We don't want to have dead plants in our town. We want to have beautiful, thriving plants and trees. So that will continue, and appreciate the support of the bid board to accomplish this greening up, as Kevin mentioned, of downtown. That answer your question, Larry?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I was just going to make the comment that look as hard as you like, but I can't find any sign that the city traditionally goes in and waters other properties. They handle the watering on city properties. So this would be a one-off.
But isn't this sitting on city property?
The city is on city property, but common areas, business areas, there isn't anywhere else in the city where the city itself takes on that responsibility for the watering. It's the businesses in the area that take care of that.
Well, I understand, but this is also a 500%, or actually 600% increase to the current budget that we had last year. And I only see, and I've always said that I will not vote for increasing our budget, ever. So to me, this is just a non-starter that basically, I appreciate Kevin and everything that they do, but for us to sit there and go to $50,000, I think that taking money out of facade grants or marketing is just a mistake.
The money in facade grants isn't.
But still, marketing and future projects. What about the lighting project coming up in a couple of years? Those are things that we're going to have to consider. We're taking that away from those future projects for watering. To me, it's just a hard sell.
I think in the pipeline, there's provisions to have a committee to look into a long-term game plan for the bid and future projects. And, I think that the community, the business owners and the building owners in the downtown are the direct benefits of greening up downtown. And I think it's up to us to step up to the plate and not be a community of half measures and make it nice down there, And I think this is an opportunity to do that. If we have to adjust the levy slightly to accommodate future projects, I think we should do it. Your property values aren't going down because of this, and it'll also attract people that come here as a destination to shop and, establish a business. And I just think it's an opportunity. I mean, I'd hate to, watch it disappear.
And I don't think any of us want to see it disappear. And the only question that I would have is, so if we all voted no on the bid board, the city would end up paying this $50,000. But why can't we just split this somehow? Is that a possibility where, we don't increase our budget so much, so drastically, but we split it somehow? Is that a thing that we could possibly address?
I'd like to think so, right? I mean, we have a line item that says 30,000. I understand why you would take away from marketing. Personally, I would rather have the marketing draw more businesses in, right? Because you have more businesses, you have more employees, you have more of a tax base for that. Plus, I just think the entrepreneurialness of it all is just better for everybody. I want a great looking downtown just as much as everybody. And to Mr. Steiner's point, I like to think there's to be some collaboration between our board and the city with this. Myself, I would be comfortable with our line item of 30,000. to get that going. It may be more, right? If we have a wet summer, maybe not. You know, to Jane's point, which is a good one, right? You know, 50,000 is a large part of a total of 112. So I think we have 30,000. I'm willing to go 30,000 for 1 year and see if we can't work together over the years for this, the master plan and some bigger budget items. But yeah, I don't think any of us want to be swallowed up in just water.
Yeah, and taking away from marketing seems, and
Yeah.
future projects.
So I'd be willing to go 30,000 to get it going for 1 year, and then let's work together with all the parties involved to find a budget that would work for not just watering, but attracting more businesses. And if there's any like hardscapes we want to do, this isn't on the agenda. I think we should have public restrooms downtown, but we're not going to talk about that here, but I think it's something we want to consider as well, right? So that's where I'm comfortable. So to your point, Wes, I'd like to think we can kind of work
Yeah,
this.
and possibly say, we donate the 30,000 instead of the 50 this year, and then we meet up again next year, and we say, okay, well, this worked, this did not work, and we just kind of, because we're all just in the dark a little bit here, you know, so.
Yeah.
We don't know what is gonna happen, we don't know how it's gonna plan out, but I think maybe if we just came to a little agreement between the city and the bid for this 1 year, and then we can readdress it after we've seen exactly what happens and.
Right, and I think Scott's will know exactly what the labor is going to be for that.
Yeah.
It's estimates now. Maybe 50 might be the number, or it might be 30, it might be 60. Depends on the weather, which none of us control.
Right.
Any more discussion?
How would we break the contract up with Scott's? Go until 30,000 is used up and we're done?
I don't think we have the contract, though.
I mean, at what point do we stop doing the hanging baskets? At what point, where do we do everything equally up until $30,000 and then, we're done? And everything dies? Or the
No.
city takes over, or how does that work?
Well, then you're asking us basically to take on the whole thing, and
Well,
the
tradition,
city said already that $50,000, they were gonna, take care of anything that was above 50,000. Why can't they do that above 30?
may also be a tough sell for the city, because the city council will have to
I think we should put that in front of the
come up
city
with that.
council, is my opinion. Yeah. If anybody else would like to add to anything. to that.
What is the actual deadline for installation of these?
They're
Is that-
supposed to start going up end of next week for the hanging baskets, and plants, I heard the end of May, so 3 weeks out.
So at this point, I guess we need to make a motion of how we're gonna handle this.
We have a motion on the floor. We have to, as I understand it, we would have to act on that motion, and then we could,
Okay, so for the motion, we'll vote on the motion of
not to exceed 50.
not to exceed the 50. Basically, who's in favor?
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor. Well, let's do a
You want to do
roll call vote.
Okay, roll call vote. And who calls the roll call? Me?
You.
All right.
Or Carissa
Carissa,
could,
you
I
know,
guess.
yeah. Carissa can call the roll call.
So just a clarification,
Yes.
this is for Mark's original.
Original.
Up to 50, unlimited.
Not to exceed
Not to exceed
50,000. In other words, we accept and execute the contract with Scott's Landscaping on a not to exceed $50,000 basis.
And was there a time period for it?
It covers now until roughly the mid-September.
So one year, okay.
1 year. It's a 1-year contract. It doesn't commit us to anything for next year. It's this year only, and it draws the additional funds out of marketing and future projects.
So Chris, you want to do a roll call?
Sure. Start at the end.
I say no.
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 Yes.
No on this one.
Yes?
No.
Yes.
Okay, the noes carry. Okay, new motion? Paul?
Of a new motion, using our full 30,000 for landscaping for the 1 year period.
Okay. Carissa, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Yep.
I say yes.
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 No.
Yes.
No?
No.
Yes. Sorry. That's all right. So what do we have here? Wasn't keeping track.
You had to flip to the other one.
It just flipped it the other way.
Okay, so basically, it is approved for the 30,000 not to exceed for this year? Is what we agreed to?
Will we need to get an additional contract from Scott's that's open-ended that says until the $30,000 runs out? No.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the bid facade grant program. Mark Allen?
Yeah, we have a bid facade grant program that's been going on for about 2 years. This is, the idea behind it was to provide some incentive for businesses and building owners to make some investments in their buildings to improve the process. I think Wesley at the Antidote got a custom-made door. The reasoning behind that was, it was an unusual shape and architecturally it fit in with the building. And the alternative, without some assistance would have been, well, I'll just put a square door in its place and it won't look as interesting, but it'll, keep the weather out. So that we had improvements like that. Other grantees were Ghoulies, Sal's Pizza, where the back of the building was addressed and a lot of work was done back there to improve that. One of the advantages of the bid facade grant program was that businesses that didn't necessarily get their facade grants often continued on and still did the work. And other businesses looked around and said, oh, well, the guy next door looks much better now. I want to do something. So we generated a lot more activity than just the amount that we put into the facade grant. The program was ongoing. We had a plan for this year. I received a request to hold off on the facade grant program only until after Kevin, quick question. What do you call yourselves?
Oh, we're just the downtown private,
Okay, the downtown private group had a chance to present their master plan, and so we did. I agreed to that. I then, once they had made their plan known, we took a look at it and said, okay, it's a framework, but it really doesn't have any immediate, even as adopted by the city, it doesn't, immediately change anything in terms of how the facade grant works. And so been trying to get facade grants spun up again and restarted. We already had some people that applied and our, we unfortunately turned off our website, and so we don't have, everybody that wanted to apply necessarily applied. But I would like to basically get a sense from the the board whether we want to restart this plan. We have $27,000 or wait a minute. 27.5.
Yep.
$27,500 that we could use to, stimulate improvements downtown. And currently, the guidelines we follow are the city development guidelines. Things like, you can't have a hot pink building, because it just doesn't fit in. It's not an earth tone. Although you could argue that any color that you could come up with is somewhere on earth. But, typically muted. Huh?
I want a pink building.
Ask. I'm pretty sure there might be some issues with that. Stick with.
Yeah.
I'll yield to a comment.
Actually, add on to what Mark said. So, and it's actually probably the second, and Jay, you speak up here, it's maybe the second short-term activation project out of this master plan was to maybe take a look at those guidelines you talked about, Mark, and with a group of people, not just the city, but a group of people to update those so we make sure that we do have, if there's, and they're already addressed, obviously, there's some consistency, and so that was actually part of the, when we went through this plan that was another, the second step maybe in the short-term plan. That doesn't happen overnight. That takes time. And so whether you decide to proceed or not, I understand that. And obviously there's guidelines in place now, but I did want you to know that was probably a project we're looking at second, was to update those, and I don't know when the last time they were looked at, but to update those guideline standards with respect to how do we have, the right, still allow creativity, Beth, still allow creativity, but still have, some standards with respect to signage and, facades and murals and all things like that. So I just wanted you to know that because that's probably the next project that we'll be perhaps worked on. So.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for the clarification, but, I think we've operated pretty responsibly on the Facade Grant Committee, working with the building inspection people and so on. And I'd like to get that back on track. I mean, we have some plans that I think would benefit downtown, and I'd like to use the bid facade grant funds to stimulate that growth. And for those of you that aren't aware, the program is a match up to a maximum amount of a 50% match on a $50,000 project. Some of the projects have come in substantially over the $50,000 mark, and when we awarded those grants, we were matching on a 50% basis, only up to that first $50,000 on the project. So it's a stimulus, not a handout.
So do we need a motion to?
We don't need a motion, but if we just, give people a chance to
Okay.
weigh in on whether we should get that program moving again.
Open for comments?
I think it's a great program. I wouldn't want to see that go away, personally.
Paul?
Yeah, I'm 100% behind it. You've seen communities where it's done really, really well. So I'd love for this to be, like you said, the term stimulus for things. And we have examples even in the facade now, and I know there's plans in the future. So whether it's murals or, different things with the design, big fan. And hopefully we can increase this stimulus in the future, but I'm 100% behind it.
Mark, I just have a question. I know in the past, especially when the downtown or the Riverwalk project was going on, I know that the bid facade kind of concentrated on those areas. Are we going to open this up to, are we going to consider the whole entire bid?
It's always been open across the bid.
Okay.
Some of the projects have been outside of the quote river-facing portions of buildings. We gave that because that was really the area that needed the most stimulus. the backs of the buildings. In other words, MOA's view of downtown was pretty grim. It's gotten a lot better. The Bend Theater is, they took an uninteresting modeled wall, painted it gray, and put a lighted sign, that says the Bend. I mean, that did a lot. Remember Beth Rose? You put the West Bend Pilot on a wall. I mean, we had paid, I believe, for tuck pointing and some of the. We had facilitated getting the wall usable again, and she came along and painted it gray and put a West Bend Pilot sign logo. And if you go back and look, that was a paper that was here. I mean, that has some historical significance as well. But if you go back and stand at MOA and look at the downtown, looks very cohesive. It's starting to come together. There are people that have projects they want to do back there.
Yeah, I mean, I got the facade grant. They helped me paint, and then it encouraged me to do more and make it even better, on my own, which I think it's good. I like it.
Yeah.
And I believe there were plans for a facade grant for the building of Brazen Head Pub and the Outbreak as well. And that is the ugliest building in the back by far on the river. So any help to that building would be great as well.
I'd love to see a facade grant back for that. Originally, the building you owned, Beth, that transferred to new owners, and Gooley's building, Sal's Pizza, had gone in. They were going to come up with a more cohesive, and Sal's went ahead and did his anyway, and that looks much better. So I think the program's been a success. I'd like to just, I've got a sense, so we'll schedule a meeting and we'll make sure the website gets up there, and we'll proceed on that basis. As far as the guidelines, I think we've used good sense and we picked the projects that have the most bang for the buck. And
No, I agree. It's a great program. Do we need to do a?
No, I wanted to
update us? Okay.
And so I think I'm done.
No, I think it's great that to continue this program. I think as a whole, I think the bid agrees on that.
Yeah, thanks for the update and your work on it, Mark.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is the downtown summer events presentation by Noelle and Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, I'm just going to go over a couple of events. I'm going to start, and then Ben's going to join me as we discuss our collaboration. But the excitement is we are bringing our events back downtown, so I hope that the word has gotten out about that now. The two major events that happen during the summer season and into the fall for this one is the West Bend Farmers Market. We are definitely bringing that back. It's starting very soon. The early market starts on May 18th. It will be every Saturday, rain or shine, until October 26th. And again, we are back downtown. We did, of course, have to look at the new road as we looked at where our vendors were coming back to. With me stepping into this role last fall, this is, of course, my first year helping to plan logistically the market and working with all of our vendors. So we have at least 70 seasonal vendors that are returning, meaning those are the ones that are there most Saturdays. And then we also have between 70 or 80 right now that fall into the category of daily or community vendors or downtown businesses. They can have up to 6 maximum Saturdays a season. So we have been working this out with the new map. I thank Krepke Printing for helping us with this. The map looks like this. I do not have an electronic copy, but I can absolutely send one for everyone to see. It is on our social media and on our website as well. When we were looking at the new road, the biggest change with the map, we really did our best to ensure that most of our seasonal vendors could get their old spot back, because we heard from pretty much 100% of them that they really enjoyed where they were in years past before the construction. But the biggest change that we saw that we had to make was now that the roundabouts are no longer in the middle of the road in certain areas. In the area, particularly across the street from the Centrum building, Hussars, the Bend, that area, because that roundabout isn't there anymore, there's not easy access to turn around anymore. So when people come down that street, instead of being able to more easily turn around. What we have seen when we've blocked the road off at those crosswalks, there becomes a traffic jam. People are wide turning their way out. So to eliminate that, it was highly encouraged that we extend the market further south to Hickory Street by the West Bend Music Academy near the Pilot. And so that is what we're doing. That also meant that it added more stalls, more spots for vendors, but we didn't want it to look very empty. So we ultimately made the decision. Historically, we've had the market also on 6th Avenue. We did make the big decision to move our 6th Avenue vendors a little further south, but keep them all together. There were 4 farms in particular that are seasonal that we are going to be really promoting. There's going to be signage on 6th Avenue saying, hey, your favorite vendors, you can now find them here, and let people know the stall locations. Here's the QR code for the map. Something new that we're trying this year then with 6th Avenue is creating temporary parking for handicap parking for those with limited mobility and just easier access to the market. So we're going to see how it goes. We've already spoken with Captain Rollinger about it. The biggest thing is the police department can't strictly enforce it because it is temporary, but we're hoping that good citizens that need to use it are using it, and those that don't need to use it don't use it. But we're going to be monitoring that. So again, pretty much the same format though. It's going to be from the north by that roundabout, now all the way to the south, right by the West Bend Music Academy, 3 music areas. There is still a little bit on Cedar and Mill. We have 2 vendors on Mill, 2 vendors on Cedar, but most of our returning vendors seasonally are going to be in their very similar location. So we're really excited to bring this market back downtown. Any questions about the market this year?
So you're saying it goes basically down past Hickory now?
It is. It's going to be ending at Hickory.
Okay.
Right here. So the barricades, so that when people are driving north on Main Street downtown, they'll have an easy access point to take a left on Hickory.
Have you notified any of the business owners of the expansion?
We have. We have been letting business owners know. And for instance, Sabora Mezcal, because I know it goes past them now, they're actually going to be putting a taco truck up at the southern end of the street too, which we're excited about, as well as the Sippy Hippie is going to be in the south end too, to attract having food on the north end and on the south end.
That's super cool. Where exactly does it end on my side of the street?
Yes, right before, I believe that, Beth, you're right here. So here's that barricade on the southern end. And right over here is where the Pilot is. Yep. Cool. So it's right on the end there. Mm-hmm. We're going to continue to spread the word. I have one here. Thank you. Yeah, that's the goal, is to keep the traffic moving around it instead of backing up. And again, this can be now easily found at westbendfarmersmarket.com and also just through the downtownwestbend.com website too, if you go to the farmers market through that. All of the vendors, of course, know where they're going to be, and looking forward to a great market downtown. Of course, when any businesses downtown, we know how much this means to you to have this back on Main Street, and that is our goal, is that this wonderful market, voted twice, 2 years in a row as the #1 market in Wisconsin, that it brings a lot of business to your stores too as people are walking by.
Any other further questions?
All right, my next, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
This is a question that's probably been asked, but I'm looking at the map, and so we have the traffic circles. Is there a reason we chose not to use the traffic circle for the market? I mean, there is no traffic into that circle from anywhere. I mean, it's now a traffic vacuum.
Which circle are we, at the north is what we're talking about? At the very north?
Traffic circle at the north end of Maine. We got a barricade to keep people out of there. Seems like that might be a place for music or something, you can only leave that traffic circle. You can't enter from there, so
that's what
putting a barricade there seems...
I was looking at that. We were debating because we knew that no cars could get in. I guess we were just being extra cautious, but it's true that their cars cannot come in. They can only leave through that area.
Right. So it's sort of the Roach Motel of farmers markets. I don't know.
There is going to be a music area. The music area, number 2, it's called, is outside the Antidote with their larger bump out with the curb. I know there's a sculpture right in the middle and some plants in that middle section of the roundabout. So, yeah, we're brainstorming possibilities of what to do with that area, or should we extend?
It is good to have a barricade there because the blacktop parking lot of Cherry Pickens is an access point to that. I've seen many people drive past Service Street and pull in.
Oh, they can
to pull. Yeah.
Okay.
During the farmers market because it's actually a guaranteed parking spot.
Okay. Thank you.
I would put a barricade there.
Okay. We'll leave it as is. Any other questions? Otherwise, we can move on to Music on Main. All right, Al, the Ben join me. I'll start and they'll have them finish. So we are excited to bring Music on Main back to Main Street, starting on May 30th, ending September 5th. It will be every Thursday except for July 4th. For most of the Thursdays, it will be back at Old Settlers Park, like everyone knows and loves. At first, it was recommended to block off from the top of Old Settlers Park all the way to Hickory for every Thursday. I've decided to not go that route. We will talk about the block parties, but for the Old Settlers Park location, I did talk to the police as well. I know that the roundabouts, the easy access to turnaround isn't there. Like it used to be, but we're planning on putting some cones and trying to make an area where people can turn more easily, leave some parking spots open. I can pass this around soon too. And these can all be emailed electronically. This is a draft of this map, but I decided to go against for every Thursday blocking off 3 blocks because that's a lot of empty space. And I just felt that there would be a lot more complaints from the public, perhaps from business owners. So we're going to, for those 12 Thursdays in June, July, and August, keep it very similar to how it was 2022 and earlier. We're heading into our 19th year of Music on Main. Have the lineup. I do have the poster here. Been promoting that. So last fall, I booked all the bands. And very late last year, I heard from the Bend, because I had only planned 12 Thursdays for this year's series. And the Bend approached the Downtown West Bend Association. They are neighbors across the street. And they looked at an opportunity with this new road and the excitement of being back downtown, and also looked at more promotion for both of our nonprofit organizations. And they proposed having a block party and blocking off a larger portion of Main Street and bringing in a large stage, bringing in a couple of bigger bands, and making this a really huge event that would bring in a lot more people than normally come. We have a very nice group and gathering that comes at Music on Main. I'm hoping all of you have been to a Music on Main in the past, but we're looking to really increase the attendance and bring more guests and tourists near and far to downtown for this. So we moved forward with this early this year, formed a committee, and are now doing the block parties on May 30th is the first one, and September 5th is the last one. So they're bookending our concert series. So the first one's coming up soon, and we have been working hard logistically figuring out this map. Because these are bigger events, we are bringing in, normally we have one food vendor, we're bringing in multiple food vendors. We're planning on doing 2 beer tents on the street in different areas. And we are having a large stage again, an SL100 stage being erected in the street on the southern end. So for the block parties, we are going to be blocking up from the top of Old Settlers Park on 6th and Main, south to Hickory Street. So those 3 blocks here. I've been getting the word out some of the businesses, but after this meeting, I do have an email drafted to every business downtown, because again, just wanting to stress that these are going to be really big events. It's going to bring a lot of people down here, a lot of traffic. We want all of our business owners and entrepreneurs to put on that entrepreneurial hats like you have and look at a way to bring in, people to your establishments too. The biggest thing is because we have this Class B license, we have our beer tents, talking to the bars and the restaurants that serve alcohol. It's really key, of course, that we have that collaboration, that no alcohol, let's say someone goes to the Outbreak and purchases an alcoholic drink, that they can't take it out on the street. Only the alcohol or the beer being sold on the street needs to be in the street and not leave beyond those closed off areas. But yeah, so we're really excited. We have a couple of great bands lined up, and the Bend has really been hard at work. We've both been working on different initiatives to help promote this event and make it, really big. But the Bend truly is the catalyst in this vehicle of being able to bring in this stage, have the electricity for it. They are the ones who got the bands for the first and the last show as well. So very collaborative effort, and thank you to the city as well. I know that they've been aware of what our plans have been for some months now, and encouraging us to move forward with this. So I will let Bill take it from here and share a little bit more. Oh, and again, I do have a draft of this map. It is changing a bit, but it's pretty solid right now, but we'll be updating a few things.
Noelle, just one quick thing. You made the comment that the restaurants and bars could not, their patrons couldn't enjoy a beverage on the street. That would be incorrect. Any of the businesses, any of the bars and restaurants that have an extension of premise in effect could, in fact,
like a patio permit?
Yes.
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't clarify that. Yes. For instance, the Bend has one. So on their curb, from what we understood from the police, yes, anyone with a patio permit, extension of premise, is able to, it's a nice night out, that's the prayer, they can serve their drinks, and people can sit in a certain area outside their establishment and enjoy that drink. Correct.
Yeah,
But,
just
yeah.
like every other day, they can't leave the extension of
Right, like during the farmer's market, if someone wants a Bloody Mary at the Antidote, they have to stay in that.
no foot off the curb.
Right, exactly. Whereas our beer tents with our Class B license in the closed off area, the beer is staying in the road, in the street.
Good morning. I'm not used to these early morning curtain speeches. Usually I have a beer in me too when I do them, so. So the block party, it's going to be a great event. I'm just going to kind of go through how we envision the event to be. So about 10 o'clock in the morning, there's going to be a semi that will pull onto Main Street. It will actually intentionally jackknife so that it's running perpendicular to the Main Street. And it's almost like a transformer. It's going to be dropping down the sides, and the roof pops up and the sides pop out, and it creates a stage. And then we've contracted with a couple audio and visual companies that are going to do all the lighting and all the sound for us. We're putting in an improvement in our electrical system in the Bend so that we can get juice out onto the street to support the bands and the lights. That'll be, like I said, 10 o'clock. The bands are going to, we're going to have
Just the southernmost part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You wanna?
Yeah, that's where that SL100 stage is going to be. It's going to be, it's going to be right outside of Shooting Star Travel and the Candyman. That's where it'll cross over.
And so it's just that southernmost block, and this will be in my email to all the business owners too. Sorry, Bill.
That's okay.
Yep, so at 10 o'clock, just that southernmost block from where the Centrum Building Hussars is, like south to the West Bend Music Academy, so the stage can get set up, because it's going to take a good couple hours to get that set up. And
It'll be
then-
a 10 o'clock they arrive. We're figuring it's about a 2 to 3 hour setup. And then we're going to have a DJ that's going to be kind of entertaining the crowds as they start arriving at 5 o'clock. The first band is going to be from 5:30 to 6:45. It's called Andrea and the Mods. They'll play for about an hour and 15 minutes. We'll get the DJ back up on stage. He'll take another 15 minutes while we swap out bands. And then the headliner is going to be Johnny Wad. So he'll play, then there'll be an announcement time from 8:15 to 8:30 like we typically do at Music on Main. And then the band will continue again from 8:30 to 9:30. And then in September, we're going to have another set of bands come. But it should be a really fun event. I've done a little bit of traveling, and I've seen these block parties at Albuquerque. I was just down in Scottsdale, and Scottsdale, they closed down the whole Old Town. They even closed down Scottsdale Boulevard, which is the main street in Scottsdale, for these block parties. And then we've seen them in Hartford, we've seen them in Cedarburg. So I think it's real appropriate that West Bend does it too. I just want to know what you guys did to get that good weather at Bachfest, because we need to have that same thing happen, because it's going to be an outside event. If it rains, well, we'll see what happens. But we're planning on it being beautiful weather. And it's going to be May 30th, and then the next one will be September 5th. So Noelle had all the bands booked for Music on Main when we decided we wanted to partner. We said we're going to do the bookend event. We'll do the first one before the main schedule, and we'll do the last one after Music on Main is kind of finished. So anybody have any questions?
I do just want to add one thing. I apologize, I forgot to mention this. As far as the timing, and again, this is going to be in the email to all the businesses, so we understand when these roads are closing. It is different than a normal Music on Main. From what I understand, before my time, for those who plan Music on Main Street, a normal Thursday, the block is closed at like 3 o'clock. Am I right in that? Around 3 p.m. So it is different for the block party days, just these 2 days.